Today we have Pablo Castillo, the CEO of Chain for Travel and Camino Network. He's been working with the travel industry for a while, building some very advanced solutions for how we can integrate blockchain into the travel industry. But more importantly, I think one of the most excited I've felt for these podcasts has been to speak to this gentleman, because I think we share a lot of the same values about how blockchain should be applied. We've met several times at various conferences. We've had some good conversations. And so it's an absolute pleasure to have you with us today. And thank you for taking the time out to talk to us as well.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure always to see you in real life or also over podcast.
Welcome to Blockchain Beyond the Hype, the podcast that cuts through the noise to deliver practical insights into how blockchain is transforming industries today. Brought to you by Kumo, a blockchain partner that is dedicated to bridging the gap between existing infrastructure and launching real-life blockchain solutions. In each episode, we'll be hosting discussions with experts who are applying blockchain technology to solve real-world problems. It's not about chasing trends. It's about unpacking stories of tangible change, innovation, and business results. Together, we'll explore what's possible for the future and take a look at industries where blockchain can have the biggest impact, from supply chain and healthcare to real estate and renewable energy. Join us as we uncover the ways blockchain is disrupting industries beyond the hype.
I've looked at your background. You know, if you look at your LinkedIn, you have quite a diverse background. So I think a good place to start would be trying to get an understanding of how did you find your way into blockchain in the first place?
So then we have to go back like 25 years. So where I started was actually selling trips. That's where I come from. So I used to work for a tour operator. And then internet came along. So in early 2000s, I used to work for a big tour operator, pan-European one. And they even had the chance to buy Booking.com at that point in time. They said no at that point in time because they didn't believe that internet would change a few things. And I see a lot of parallels between what's happening with Web3 and the early days of Web2 as well. But too much to that we will talk later. So I myself, I made my way from selling trips to e-commerce, to digital projects. That's where I actually understood how fragmented our industry is, because literally every company uses complete different systems. Every country has complete different standards and distribution systems. So it was super interesting, especially as a project manager. But then when I turned 40, more or less, I got a little bit fed up with the lack of innovation and basically decided, okay, it's time for a break. When traveling, that's what we travel folks usually do when we don't know what to do. And then I got the chance actually to join Chain for Travel, which, as the name implies, has built a known blockchain for the travel industry. My first touch point with blockchain, though, was roughly 2016, because at that point in time, I was CIO of Hoteplan Group, which is also a Swiss tour operator. And the fun part of my job was actually look at novel technology and startups and always deciding, is this friend or foe for us? And there was a startup from Czech Republic, actually, creating the first decentralized marketplace in travel based on blockchain technology. The name was Winding Tree. And honestly, I did not understand it. So I invited those guys over. There were two young guys coming from Czech Republic. We had a nice meeting. Imagine we quite conservative in suits, those two young guys wearing hoodies and basically telling me about tokens, IEO, blockchain technology, how cool that is and how this is going to change the world. And literally didn't get it. I felt like my father must have felt as I tried to explain in the internet, more or less. But it intrigued me. So I took one of my smartest guys I had in my IT department and said, hey, listen, by end of the week, I want to understand this. So please explain me what is a blockchain? How does it work? I get it's a database. It's somehow distributed. But what can I do with that? And yeah, although in that position, we never started building something on that, the technology intrigued me quite a lot. As most of our audience here today was probably also invested in some crypto, played around with it. My crypto portfolio looks like the Spanish flag, so don't follow me for crypto advice. But definitely it was a steep learning curve since I joined Chain for Travel, because what we are trying to do is to use the blockchain really to solve some issues in our industry. So we are not a typical crypto project. We see as ourselves more as a travel technology company, which uses blockchain technology for certain means.
So I'm going to ask, because you got into blockchain quite early, from your perspective, how do you think it's evolved from, like, say, 2016 when you first started experiencing it to where we are in 2024 right now?
Definitely on the technology and use cases side. I mean, at that point in time, most of the blockchains were able to do single-digit transactions per second. Finality of a block took like 40 minutes. That was also one of the discussions I had internally after the meeting with those guys from Nature, like saying, hey, how is this superior? How is this better? I mean, if a customer sits there and wants to make a booking, a travel booking, and needs to wait 40 minutes till the payment goes through and he could receive an email conversation, he will be phoning us every 5 minutes, like saying, hey, I've not received the payment confirmation, I've not received your email. So definitely on speed, on scalability. I also think on security, definitely, because as with each novel technology, a lot happened in the early days, like with the internet as well. There was a lot of scams, rug pulls and so on. There still are out there, but that's normal with new developments. And I think also the broadness of the different projects we're seeing today, right? I mean, at the beginning, it was very much about DeFi. Now today, we're talking about RWA, DePIN. So there are a lot of new narratives being used. And what a lot of people don't know, and this is also something I try always to bring to the knowledge or to the front, is that more than 65 industries today are using actually blockchain on a day-to-day basis. And most of that stuff is not even on DeFi. I mean, DeFi is a super interesting use case also for us in the travel industry because we have very high payment costs and very low margins. But overall, I think it's the broadness side. And the technology is proven. I mean, it's nothing super new. The first blockchains were around, the first concepts early 90s, late 90s. So now we have matured a lot overall.
Could you tell us a little bit more about specifically Chain for Travel, Camino Network, why there are two separate entities? That would be nice to know as well. That would be interesting. And, you know, what is the objectives of both organizations, etc.?
So as similar to many other blockchain projects, we have actually opted to create the foundation on the one hand side, which is the IP owner and also the treasury owner. And via Chain for Travel are actually the lab or the development arm of the Camino Network Foundation. So we work together. Of course, there's split the teams. I mean, we have a board at the Camino Network Foundation. The vision of the Camino Network Foundation is really bring travel into Web3 and Web3 into travel in a nutshell. And for that, they are basically selling tokens and funding us to do the development of the network itself. The network itself, so Camino, is more than only a layer 1 blockchain. It's also a business ecosystem. Currently, we have more than 200 travel entities in there. So we work with airlines, airports, hotel chains, and so on and so on. Some verticals we have not even touched, like the cruise industry. And basically what we do at Chain for Travel is to develop the technology and also help those companies better understand what they can do. So we onboard them through a variety of different fairs, speeches, podcasts. So education is very, very crucial. We also have our own hackathon series, which we just had last week in Antalya, Turkey as well, a big one. So very much focused on B2B and making those companies understand how can they be part of this validator network, of this network of companies working together, and what kind of business problems can they solve. And this is one aspect of the whole project. So using the technology to mitigate some of the issues we have, like high payment costs, high transaction costs, all technology we are employing, also making them a little bit aware that, hey, everybody's talking about AI, but actually you can't use AI in travel today because we're using super old systems. And also we have a lot of data which is not verified. If you look at TripAdvisor, for instance, you can create any kind of business review without actually authentication or proof that you have been there. And this, of course, is very, very harmful for some businesses. And now if you take this data and just input it into an AI, which makes decision for you, so a hotel who has been targeted by bad reviews out of any reason will not show up in any kind of automated book process in future, for instance, right? But these are issues we're tackling today with the technology. The more important one is the travel industry was never a very, very innovative industry. I mean, we have beautiful, shiny front ends. It looks always very inspirational, very emotional. But if you look at those front ends, they have not moved the last 25 years. So it's still, if you book a trip, it's still, you select your dates, the amount of person, which destination, and then you press search. That has not changed the last 25 years. And the back-end systems are older than I am, and that's no joke. I'm 44 years old, and most of those are really, really old.
We can see that every time we take a plane at the airport as well.
Yes. I mean, if a travel goes smooth, usually you don't realize that. But the problem if there is any kind of disruption, you realize that this decentralized industry, because we are actually a huge supply chain of different kind of parties working together, that it's not well orchestrated. Why? Because usually the booking goes through, but all the updates or those parties are not able to communicate with each other or do automated rebookings or things like that. But also we know that, and this is the more important part of our project, I think, is that we know that digital wallets are already here. In the future, we believe are in digital wallets, however they look like. Then the second one is digital money is coming. Not talking about crypto. Now, stable coins is interesting. We have a few companies now using stable coins as well to be faster and cheaper when it comes to pay between two suppliers, for instance. But the third one is also digital ID. And I mean, here in Europe, where we are based, we are working with the UID Wallet Consortium, for instance, which by 2030 has the aim to roll out a digital ID passport for all Europeans. And by law, bigger e-commerce platform needs to be able to support that. So what does this mean? The booking process in future, they envision that like that at least, will be I as a customer, I connect my wallet to any kind of front, that be Booking.com or Expedia. And basically this supplier, let's say this Booking.com, because they're literally mentioned in the rules, will be able to read with my consent the content of my wallet. They will see my driving license if I book a car. They will see my passport data if I have to pass on my data somewhere. They will see my health insurance for entry requirements, visa requirements, and also they want to store there the travel bookings. So none of those existing technologies today support that already. And that's definitely something where we need to prepare the industry for, because our thesis is, again, digital wallet, digital money, digital ID, that will come out from the customer, and we need to be able to support that. That's why we opted actually to create Camino. So there's a lot we can do only around digital identity. But if you start combining that with money, with, automated rebooking, refunds as well, like, I mean, for instance, airlines know very well that you are at the airport. They know very well that their own aircraft is delayed. And in certain countries, like in the European Union, you are eligible for a refund up to €300 if the airline is more than 3 hours delayed. So you can also very well use that not only for disruption management, but loyalty. I mean, how cool would it be instead of only getting an SMS notification from your airline, like saying, oh, I'm sorry, your flight is 3 hours delayed, but you would also add them directly into your wallet. And here you go, you have 150 USDCs and have fun shopping on us. The funny thing is, especially after COVID, a lot of airlines now realized, 98% of the cases we get, we lose anyway, because it's by law. So instead of having a call center and processing that claim and lawyers involved and maybe some customers dragging you in front of a court, why not just turn it around and say, and you may have heard my example, you're eligible for €300 and you just pay out 150. Most of the customers would not ask for the rest. They would just be happy that they can go to Starbucks and shop a little bit, right?
Pretty much. I agree with you on that concept. If the airline automatically just gives you even 50 or 100 euros, they're not going to turn around. Most people will be like, now I'm attached loyalty-wise to this airline because they did it automatically. And then that actually creates a bond which will probably last many years.
And also, I mean, most of the loyalty schemes are for frequent travelers, right? I mean, a normal family which travels once or twice a year on holidays, they never reach a tier where they really get the benefits of a free flight or upgrade. But also there, we have some partners in our network who are now tokenizing loyalty point to allow micro spendings. Because they also see, our customers are some kind frustrated, so they never reach a tier, and also those miles or points can expire after a certain time period. So what do? Do you order yourself again a bunch of black socks for Christmas before they expire, or do you give the customer something cooler into their hand? And the technology is there. Singapore Airlines, you mentioned, is a very good example. Since 2017, they are using an internal blockchain. And basically the whole KrisFlyer program is run on the blockchain. And even cooler, they have tokenized all those points that you can now spend those points in more than 200 shops in Singapore for a coffee, for a croissant at the gate or whatever. So this then gives more utility to your point system, even if you are not giving him the free flight. But it's also an ecosystem game, right? You can enter partnerships with other ones. And there are certain companies like Starbucks, McDonald's, and so on, who are present at every airport. So you could also start combining that and giving more value for the customers.
There's a lot of airlines around the world who probably have maybe grasped that concept, and some airlines who have got the concept but have delivered it poorly. And then there's a lot of people in the hotel industry who don't even understand that concept. I can talk about a few different airlines that I've traveled with who just don't understand what the value, if you've got people flying on these flights, 10 times a year and you're not rewarding them, like, what are you doing with it? Why did you choose to build your own separate blockchain as opposed to just going on like Ethereum or using some of these existing layer 1, layer 2s that exist?
Several reasons. I mean, one of the main reasons was we don't believe in this one-size-fits-all approach. And I think you are also now seeing more and more industry-specific blockchains, like the Aura blockchain for the luxury good industry, like where Dolce & Gabbana and all the other luxury brands work together on certain topics. That was one. The second one was more practical one. We are an industry who is seasonal. So that means we will have high seasons, low seasons, and shoulder seasons. And imagine now, most of the blockchains still work with the concept, the more traffic you have, the higher the gas fees. And this is for a business which wants to predict their costs. They want to know, hey, how much does me an NFT ticket cost, for instance? You cannot predict it. So we wanted to be able to steer the gas fees by our validator consortium. So that was the second one. Also, honestly, as we are onboarding here a novel industry which has not so much knowledge about Web3. It was a little bit about trust as well. I mean, one specialty of our chain is that all validators are travel companies, and every travel company is only allowed to run one validator, and they have to undergo KYB, so we know who they are. Because one of the biggest challenges we encountered when we started explaining the concept to our travel industry peers, most of them are, wait. Blockchain, that's crypto, that's scam. That was the first reaction we got in a lot of area, because people always think blockchain is only crypto, and crypto is one of the many use cases you can do with that. And then once they understood that, okay, you can do more with that. The second was, but who's validating my transaction? Is it a 30-year-old kid in the US with a gaming PC under the desk, or is it North Korea? Am I validating transactions from North Korea? How does it look compliant-wise? And all these questions came up, right? And then we said, okay, maybe it's better to induce trust in the industry that does not yet trust fully this blockchain by creating something together. And there are many examples in the travel industry, like, for instance, Amadeus. You may have heard about Amadeus. It's one of the largest travel tech companies in the world today. They got created because 5 airlines got together and said, hey, guys, we need a new in-house system. Let's work together. Let's build that. And this is a little bit the vision we are driving forward, that together with the industry, we are creating a new backbone for the travel industry. I mean, a decentralized system makes, in our opinion, a lot of sense for a decentralized industry like travel. And on top of that, in beauty, it's agnostic. So we can not only onboard airlines and hotels, we can also do insurances, eSIM supply, you name it. Whatever is travel relevant can be on that one. But I think that those are the main reasons why we opted to split off from the other blockchain protocols out there. And also the last one maybe was to really be able to develop custom or industry-specific solutions like we built with the Messenger. Because one of the most sought-after use cases in our industry still is, hey, how can I distribute and source content or bookings more efficiently? And there, honestly, we hit a little bit the brick walls with the blockchain technology available today, because our industry does a lot of funny things. So we have very sophisticated yield management systems in place. Let's take Uber, for instance. If you have, they often show different prices for Apple devices versus Android devices. If your battery status is low and it's raining, the price will increase automatically. So they are already on the edge, right? And we have a lot of dynamic pricing options as well. So putting all that one on the blockchain, apart from the volume, because we are talking here billions of search requests every day, that would not make the trick. So that's why we opted actually to create the second layer on top of our layer 1 blockchain, which we call the Camino Messenger, which is actually an open source communication protocol based on matrix.org, which is also employed by certain governments here in Europe in case of war, so that communication still flows in case there are communication infrastructure is attacked. And what we changed there is, instead of having accounts or business phone numbers, we added wallets to that. So we have created a wallet-to-wallet encrypted network, which also solves the problem, what kind of data are we showing on transaction level? Because no company wants to publicly show on a transaction which everybody can see on the blockchain, like the margins, how many hotel rooms did you sell, how many bookings did you make. So we are hiding that more or less on an encrypted layer. We go on the blockchain in turn in case there is a booking, in case there is an NFT or somebody wants to do an on-chain payment. But for the rest, we have actually connected the existing APIs distribution side and also sourcing side to that. And that's a little bit why they said, okay, we cannot do that with other blockchains, and started creating our own one.
So ultimately, it gave you a lot more control to be able to specify yourself much more to some of the challenges and the pain points of that travel industry without having to jump through hurdles with the existing solutions that were out there.
Absolutely. And also, in a lot of other blockchains, you have, in my opinion, conflict of interest. So you have the miners who provide validators, and you have people doing transactions on top of that. And the main interest is opposite, right? The miners, they want to have high transaction fees and high rewards for the infrastructure they provide. And the companies doing businesses want to have low transactions. So now by having a set of validators in our network who all strive for low transaction fees, they don't even care if they don't run a validator which gives them enough rewards to cover their hardware costs. And that's also something we always said, hey, listen, this is not like Bitcoin mining. You will not get rich here, but you are providing infrastructure. You will get some rewards. You can use that for your own transactions and so on. And that was well received, honestly.
We've spoken now about the Camino Network, Chain for Travel, what some of the pain points actually in the travel industry are, and how Camino Network is tackling those challenges. Let's hear about some of your success stories of some of the things that you guys have done, some of the companies you're working with, and if you've got any use cases specifically that you could share with us publicly, obviously, it would be great to hear about that.
Yes, absolutely. And you can also find them always on our blogs and YouTube channels because, of course, this kind of use cases helps us to educate other industry parties. And we work with a variety of different kind of levels, right? We work with what we call the lighthouses. Lighthouse, for instance, Lufthansa Group, one of the largest carrier in Europe, where they have currently 3 major use cases they're working on. So on the one hand side, they're tokenizing sustainable airline fuel. So what's that? So it's called SAF. And SAF is the new old thing in the travel industry because, as you know, sustainability is very important for the travel industry. And it's being produced. It's still kerosene, but it's being produced with solar energy and so on. And in order to prove that they are really using that and doing that, they're tokenizing all those purchases. And I, as a tour operator or I, as an OTA, could buy that from Lufthansa and then also prove that this fuel was really in that aircraft, which has been flying from A to B. So that's one use case. Then Lufthansa is also using the blockchain for settlements. So they are now looking into certain markets where usually they have high payment costs or high transaction costs to use stable coins on the chain to pay them, which is also quite a high volume.
What kind of partners are they doing settlements with?
So in the airline industry, there's a settlement solution from IATA. IATA is the International Air Transport Association, where 3,300 airlines are part of. And they have a model which is called BSP. BSP stands for Billing Settlement Plan, so that they pay those over that. It's like a SWIFT network for airlines. But there are certain countries and airlines which are not in there, and that always costs a lot of money to send them money to Iran, to other countries in Africa and so on. And they are now basically using blockchain to transmit money to those countries very easily and steadily. So that's another one. And they are also using now the Messenger as an alternative distribution platform because they saw that it's cheaper than their existing platform and they can faster onboard them. So those are, for instance, the use cases Lufthansa is working on. Then I mentioned sustainability. In our industry, there's a lot about sustainability talk. We call that a little bit greenwashing because you cannot prove that really that company that asks you for, hey, would you like to offset your flight? And then they take the part of the flight price. What happens with that money? So does it really go to this project in Amazonas? Does it really go to the reforestation project in Borneo? You have no clue. So more and more companies are now actually turning to blockchain, and we have, for instance, a collaboration with Carbify.io, and they're planting NFT trees on the blockchain. And interesting there is actually they chip every sapling with a geolocation, and with drones and also satellite images, they control from time to being, is that tree still there? So it's still producing oxygen and binding actually carbon from the atmosphere. So they're using blockchain means for that as well. So that's some of the use cases we work with. Other startups are, for instance, Sleep.io. So Sleep.io was the first use case on Camino who went live. And it's a booking platform. So they allow you, it's similar to Travala. They allow you to pay with more than 250 cryptocurrencies on there. They're using AI, and also you have to connect your wallet. And they start personalizing actually the content. So if they realize that you are maybe a family traveler, they also change the pictures on the website so that not the balcony is shown, but more terrace apartments are shown and stuff like that. So they tried also to better personalize and create the content for the traveler itself, because having access to the wallet of the users is actually a very, very powerful marketing tool. right? Because you could start better to personalize that. Then we have companies like Avata. They have just launched a new insurance on Camino, which is called Cancelled for Any Reason. And the nice thing there is also you could, in case you create the booking as an NFT, and you insure that with them, even if you resell that booking to somebody else, the insurance goes with that. Usually insurance is always soul-bound to a person, but they have actually insured the digital asset to go on. And we have other examples where the customer does not even realize that there is blockchain behind. So we have one ticketing and event platform, which is called Visitor App. Can be used for any kind of event, any kind of ticketing. Even certain countries use it as a destination tool, where it's complete Web2 experience. What they do is they generate per ticket an NFT ticket on chain, because they realized very early, actually a few years back already, hey, this is cool because the ticketing industry has one big problem, and that's fraud as well. So apparently only in the US, the ticket fraud costs are like $4 billion a year. And here you have a technology where basically can secure, once the ticket gets scanned and burned, you basically cannot replicate it, right? So it's not like a copy machine. So these are different kind of use cases that are being used also in the review sector. I mean, we talked about TripAdvisor earlier enough. You have one startup called Trient. They have created what they call the decentralized TripAdvisor, where you have to prove, and this is then put on the blockchain, that you have been in that hotel by uploading a video or uploading an image from that location. So that proves that you were in that hotel or restaurant and that you are eligible actually to talk about that service and being really a customer.
Do you think that maybe the recent upturn in Bitcoin has had an impact on people's attitudes to Web3 again?
I mean, on the one hand side, a lot of those still would not invest into crypto, although I think there are companies like MicroStrategy who show how interesting that could be if you have this kind of turning wheel of, hey, shares putting into crypto and pumping the cryptos and so on. But yes, I mean, the funny thing is, since we started, we've been talking less about crypto and Bitcoin, but in general about Web3 narratives. So what helps us even more than this Bitcoin and bull run now coming, which attracts some of the things, it's more also startups who start like, oh, let's do something in Web3 and let's go for grants and stuff like that. But the bigger ones are more attracted by the other narratives. We were like digital wallets. Hey, European passport is coming. Hey, central banks do printing CBDC money on blockchains and stuff like that. So suddenly they realize, ooh, I heard that 2-3 years ago and this guy popped up, and now I'm reading it in the paper, this is coming next year, and I have not done anything. So let's phone them up again, let's see what we can do. So if people talk over that thing, it helps. I mean, crypto still, also if you look at pump fund and all that stuff, not really helpful for a lot of things, because then again, people say, okay, if you can only use that for that, why should I invest my IT resources in even evaluating it, what I could do with it?
I think both yourself and myself, we have like a very similar approach to things. It's about creating the value, the purpose, and it's not about necessarily following a trend specifically and, you know, just trying to jump on a bandwagon in any way, shape or form. I'm going to imagine we both come from like enterprise experiences in different ways. And so we've been able to see, you know, what are the type of problems that occur in various industries. And so therefore having a solution that kind of fits into it means that when we're talking about blockchain, we know that blockchain is not another way of doing the same thing. We know that blockchain is a better way.
Exactly. You have to really emphasize on the benefits.
Yeah, exactly. It can increase consumer experience. It can reduce costs. It can create new revenue angles. And that's obviously the way we're looking at it. But what I've noticed a lot of, I would say probably 75% of our leads coming in is the other people who are like, oh, now I can make money from blockchain again because, you know, crypto is running and, you know, I need a way to exit or do something interesting. And it's both fun and exciting and also very frustrating at the same time.
Sometimes, yes, but as long as the trend goes into the right direction, if you have a longer horizon, how you see things, I think it helps. I mean, the more people get exposed to the technology, the more people try different use cases. I mean, the broader the application landscape will become and the more knowledge there is. But yes, I mean, we have to be careful as an industry not to focus always on the same narratives. I think that's very important, and also really to bring value. I mean, at the end now, as we talked at the beginning, RWA and DeepIn are the new buzzwords. This is exactly what we've been doing actually since the start.
I had to Google DeepIn the first time I saw it.
Yeah, for me, that's also what's deep in and our decentralized physical infrastructure.
How can listeners support or connect with you or Train for Travel? How do they get in touch? Where do they go to learn more?
So definitely we have our socials, which I would recommend as a first touch point. So go on our website to the www.chainfortravel.com or on camino.network. There we also have a blog. We have a lot of newsletters where we on a regular basis post. Our most active channel, I would say, is our Twitter channel and also our Telegram channel, where we have quite a huge community. We also have now launched a regular AMA session on Twitter. So check out our socials, and maybe what's really interesting for a lot of people who never heard as well our partners talk is our YouTube channel, because on our YouTube channel you'll find recorded from our Decode hackathons, you will find as well from our conference some videos, and there you will also see all the stuff we talked today, for instance, about Lufthansa themselves presenting those cases and why they are doing them. And I think it's always more valuable to hear it from the horse's mouth, as they say, instead of me. Because that's at the end what we want to do. So it's not me talking about that. So I'm trying to push actually our partners to do so.
What does someone search for your YouTube channel?
Chain for Travel, and then you will see all our videos and also summaries of our conferences.
You know what I'm doing tonight?
You will see a lot of interesting content, definitely.
Again, thank you so much for spending this time with me today. This is an industry I'm very passionate about as well. And I can see that you are like 7 notches ahead of me in terms of your passion for this industry.
Well, it's the only industry I know, honestly. It's where I started and hopefully will end.
Well, I mean, at the same time, though, it's fascinating. There were many moments during this conversation where I was just sitting here listening, like I'm learning so much. But no, it's been an absolute pleasure, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Sakib. That has been a pleasure on my side as well. And looking forward to how we can future collaborate and you'll be part of the Camino Network as well.
Thanks for joining us on Blockchain Beyond the Hype, exploring how to harness blockchain technology to transform the way we do business. If you enjoyed today's episode, then please subscribe, leave a review, and share with other people who are passionate about creating change. Until next time, keep innovating and pushing the boundaries of what's possible.